This business is effectively what I would call a COVID baby. It started during COVID time.
You're not even in person having any contact, and yet the entire deal gets...
And not a single consumer has ever sort of tried to come to the office after the buying process also.
Mumbai is supposed to be a gold mine for real estate. For you to think of, stretching your boundaries over to tier 2 cities, and I want to ask you this, there's no gentry, there is no industry. What gave you the confidence that you could have projects there that people would be attracted to?
I think if we go back and understand the economic rationale of that will make the answer easier.
Mr. Bachchan has apparently invested there. And what are the sort of projects that you have, and how do you make it lucrative for an investor?
He is from Uttar Pradesh.
He is from Uttar Pradesh, yeah.
Secondly, I think for him this is more than just an investment. He has a huge amount of emotional attachment to Ayodhya.
Ayodhya, where in 4 years you have prices going up about 10x, that is phenomenal, because that I don't think has happened in any place perhaps across the globe. You'd know better.
Maybe it's a rarity, yeah, I would agree, but I think we should also go back that prior to that, almost for 50 years or 40 years, pricing in Ayodhya was almost stagnant.
Yeah. House of Abhinandan Lodha, India's premier land development company that has now set foot across multiple cities beyond the metros in India. They have projects in 16 locations currently and planning to expand to additional 32 locations in the coming years. I want to understand what is the reason that there is this sudden interest in investing in land projects. I have with me here Mr. Abhinandan Lodha, who is the chairman of HoABL. Welcome to Free Press Journal, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Afrida. How are you?
Let me begin by asking you, sir. I'm fine, thank you. What is the reason that you see this spike and this sudden momentum in land projects and people getting drawn towards them, that too beyond the metro cities?
I think this goes back to the basic Indian desire. If you go back 30, 40, 50, even 100 years into our history, ownership of land is quintessentially what defined the status of a person's family economically. And I think over the years, it got diluted out because of the issues around ownership of land in India. So title, possession, approvals, and ability to create liquidity should a crisis so arise. And over 20, 30, 40 years, as people were not able to find a solution to this, the refrainment from land as an asset class started for investment, and people only looked at land for consumption asset class. Even today, if you go in most tier 1 minus cities, people tend to buy land for the next generation, but it is close to where they are already residing because they can take care of these 4 issues. House of Abhinandan Lodha was conceptualized with the thinking of being able to overcome these 4 barriers. And because we were able to overcome those 4 barriers, I think we saw unprecedented response from the consumers wherever we launched. And I do believe that because of that, a lot of our colleagues have also understood that if we are able to answer these 4 questions and build a lot of focus on transparency, land as an asset class has unprecedented demand.
Right. And, and that's what I also wanted to ask you when I was reading about your projects. I realized that there are a lot of risks in this because you're also doing online business. How did you create that sort of a trust factor, credibility factor for things to work out so smoothly?
I think the reason for scale in our business is the call we took. This business is effectively what I would call a COVID baby. It started during COVID times. And at that point of time, our thinking was that if we try to build a physical real estate business, I had done a physical real estate business from 1998 to 2015. Yeah. And I didn't want to go back to doing the same thing again. So if the idea was to build a scalable business outside of Mumbai, then the only ability to do that came if you're able to bring great scale using technology. And so I think from the first day itself, we took a conceptual call that this is what we are selling. We're effectively selling land as an investment asset class for a period of 20 years. And people who are willing to understand our thinking, our ability to make it real to the consumer, and value my name and my brand are the people who will become our consumers.
Which means you're not even meeting the buyer, you're not even in person having any contact, and yet the entire deal gets closed.
So I'll tell you something you'll be surprised to know that I think we have close to 7,000 consumers now. And not a single consumer has ever seen an HoABL site before buying.
Wow.
Not a single consumer has met any salesperson. And not a single consumer has ever sort of tried to come to the office after the buying process also.
It's all in the virtual world.
It's all in the virtual world. It's like buying DMAT land.
Okay. It's so interesting. In fact, I was wondering and I was meaning to ask you this, that being a Bombay boy and Mumbai is supposed to be a gold mine for real estate, for you to think of, stretching your boundaries over to tier 2 cities, and I want to ask you this, there's no gentry, there is no industry. What gave you the confidence that you could have projects there that people would be attracted to?
I think if we go back and understand the economic rationale of that, that will make the answer easier. Most of the places where tourists tend to come, be it an Ayodhya ji, be it a Vrindavan, or be it a Shimla, or be it a Goa, the economic growth of those places tends to be much higher than the national average. To give you an example, and I think it's a great example of cultural economics, the Mahakumbh which took place this year, had a total investment of 15,000 crores from the state and central government put together, 7,500 crores each. Out of which 12,000 crores were spent into capex items. So, roads, railways, waterways, which are long-term assets of the government.
So
they'll
the
get
ground is
amortized
laid for
over a long time. Only 3,000 crore rupees was spent in what I would call operational expenditure, right? Against the 3,000 crore rupee investment, an extra business of 3,42,000 crores was generated in a period of 45 days in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, because 60 crore people odd came from outside and they spent money, it gave a great fillip to local economy. The industry has now started moving there. Land is going to become more attractive. More and more people are going to come as the start to a great virtuous cycle. And our thinking came exactly from that we identified 48 locations across the country where we believe state and central infrastructure push is happening simultaneously. Economic growth is ahead of the national average. And if you take the combination of both of these, the general philosophy and sort of the history of India tells you that the land price appreciation in these places will be much, much higher than the national average.
I was looking at the land price hike since you bring it up. 10x in Ayodhya ji over the last 4 years.
I wouldn't have an exact number, but I would say not just, if you look at via just Ayodhya ji, even if you look at a place like Konkan, Dapoli, we launched in Dapoli in 2020 at a price of 450 rupees a square foot. Today we are the buyers are reselling that close to 3,000 rupees a square foot. So in a span of 4 years, prices have gone up 7 times there. And the largest beneficiary is the local farmer, because till we didn't go there, there was almost no outside understanding of what those locations mean from a development perspective. Suddenly when we've gone there and we've got buyers from all over the world, our model enables people from across the world to participate in any destination which they believe is part of emerging India. So you could be sitting in Chicago, have no correlation to Nagpur, but you understand that the kind of infra getting built in Nagpur means Nagpur is going to become an economic center 10 years henceforth. And you can buy and land in Nagpur sitting in Washington through HoABL. And then suddenly you're going to talk about Nagpur in your forums there, and more people are going to look at Nagpur as an investment destination. And that's what HoABL tends to do. We tend to take a domestic, sort of a local product, take it to a global audience, and then make it something where everybody is willing to participate and wanting to participate, making the local economy move in a different direction.
Mr. Lodha, I want to ask you, since the Prime Minister has been so vocal about smart cities and the smart city projects, there's a vision there in place. And we've seen in places like Singapore and Dubai how they have attracted foreign investments, for these smart cities. Is there an intent to integrate your projects with that vision?
So I think the development of these cities itself is testimony to the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister of India. So of course, to that extent, we are fully integrated with that vision. And the local government is working very hard to make these cities smart cities. But if you compare it to the Dubai and Singapore, the only difference is that in Dubai and Singapore, you as an outsider, as a non-resident also, you are allowed to buy. So somebody who's an Australian citizen can buy an apartment in Dubai. Somebody who's an Indian citizen can pay extra stamp duty and buy an apartment in Singapore. What we've seen so far in places like Ayodhya ji is a huge amount of demand coming from the non-resident Indian population, and they are really wanting to participate and buy. But it is not akin to what happens in Dubai or Singapore, because I think rightly so, Indian law prohibits people from different nationalities to buy our land. We are very, very emotionally attached to land as a country. So I think these cities will become smart cities, and I think a huge amount of global aspiration and thinking will come there, because the NRI population is now global in nature and they are participating.
Right. And that is healthy for
It's
the
very,
economy,
very nice. It's
for the
very
country.
nice. Yes.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by what you just said, because the fact that you noticed and the fact that you have that forward thinking to understand, okay, here is potential, and the fact that you were candid enough to say that the Kumbh gave you that sort of a perspective which triggered perhaps this entire idea, okay, look at the potential here. Already the decks are cleared, already there is investment in the part of the government in infrastructure. So that it's all also in a lot of ways something that's happening in a coordinated manner. I mean, you can't be an isolated player in any of this.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think the Kumbh has happened now. We moved to these places far ago, but what we clearly saw is wherever governance is good, be it Maharashtra, be it Uttar Pradesh, be it Goa, etc., and there is commitment to building infrastructure, those are the places to go and bank for tomorrow.
So tell us more about your projects now in Ayodhya, for example. Mr. Bachchan has apparently invested there. And what are the sort of projects that you have, and how do you make it lucrative for an investor?
So Ayodhya ji specifically, it's a 75-acre development we are doing. It's roughly 6 kilometers from the Ram temple. We acquired land over a period of almost 3.5-4 years. At this point of time, it's probably the only private township getting built in Ayodhya ji. It's got residential towers. It's got India's first pure vegetarian 5-star hotel. It's got bungalows, and it's got land. And we believe that at the completion of this, what you will see is probably going to be the most developed township Uttar Pradesh has seen in a long time, being built in the heart of the cultural sentiments of the country at this place. In terms of Mr. Bachchan's investment, I think he has a large affinity to Uttar Pradesh. He is from Uttar Pradesh.
He's from Uttar Pradesh, yeah.
Secondly, I think for him this is more than just an investment. He has a huge amount of emotional attachment to Ayodhya ji. So I don't think that he looks at it purely as an investment. I think he's going to build something there. He's going to make it available for people, and he's going to find a way to meaningfully contribute back to what is happening, the development in that area.
That's nice. But tell me, is it all sold out? I have two questions. First, tell me about this township. What is the sort of availability now? And the fact that India is such a deeply religious society, somewhere, can I say that you've managed to capitalize on that as well, reaching out to these specific temple towns, as it were?
So I'll ask, in terms of the Sarayu, we had approvals for the first 3 phases. Those 3 phases are now completely sold out. They actually sold out almost at the end of January last year. We are expecting the approval for our 4th phase to happen now, which is probably going to be our last phase.
Okay.
And once we get the approvals, we'll probably be launching that sometime over the next couple of quarters.
Okay, so there is still scope to think there. Huh?
In terms of the theory around HoABL said, I think it's more than temple towns. It's like I said, it's about infrastructure creation. So for Vrindavan, which we are doing in, we also have Goa. For an Ayodhya ji where we are there, we also have Shimla.
Okay.
For an Ujjain where we are planning to go, we also have Neral. So I think it's a combination of wherever people are wanting to go is a place where we want to go. But we have huge faith in the cultural behavior of the country. As long as people start going, and this is not just an Indian phenomenon, anywhere across the world, in areas where there is large congregation due to religious beliefs, the economic activity rationale for buying in those places is extremely high. We've seen that probably, in Tirupati ji, if somebody bought land 25 years ago, the value of that land today has completely changed.
No, but here we are talking about a period of 4 years, and I'm coming back to this point about Ayodhya, where in 4 years you have prices going up about 10x. That is phenomenal, because that I don't think has happened in any place perhaps across the globe. You'd know better.
Maybe it's a rarity, I would agree, but I think we should also go back that prior to that, almost for 50 years or 40 years, pricing in Ayodhya was almost stagnant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's the catch-up of that phase.
Okay.
I don't think anybody should invest in land expecting a 10x return in 4 years. I think the general behavior is...
Be realistic about it.
Yeah, no, and I think this is long-term investment. If you got money for 15, 20 years, you're looking to create wealth for the next generation, and you're looking to consume in the meanwhile, then land is the right asset class for you to reply. And over a 20-year period, you'll probably get an 18-20% compounding return almost anywhere in India, where you buy at what I would call the boundary of the urban areas. To give you an example, if you look at Mumbai, since you are from Mumbai, the suburb of Mumbai called Thane, land in 2003 in that location was probably close to or 1.5 to 2 crore rupees per acre. And that time Thane was not as developed as it is today, and the infra of Mumbai was not the way it is today. Today land in that area is close to 175 crore rupees per acre in 20 years.
Yeah.
And I think that story has been repeated many, many times across India. Wherever you buy at the edge of urban limits, you will find phenomenal returns.
Yeah. So a lot of factors coming together, what I see, and if you can give us a little idea about what is your business model. You explained to us why it would be lucrative for an investor, but what is in it for you?
So I think one thing is that, when we started HoABL in 2020, 2021, the idea was to do something different from what I had done before.
Okay.
So I had done a lot of work in the vertical business as probably building some of the best developments across till 2015. And the idea was not to repeat the same. The idea was how can I build a very, very scalable business, capitalize on my personal goodwill, and ensure that people are getting into an asset class which they haven't been able to participate into for a long time. The background was that
So there is a rejuvenation, or should I say an awakening towards investing in land, which was, there was a lull period, and now would you say that there is a
there is an
reawakening?
enablement. There is an enablement. This is
And
all.
you're a major player in I would say a contributor for
I would
that change
think
in
so,
consumer
yes.
behavior.
Yeah, I would think so, yes. I think suddenly we brought back land at the forefront of an investment asset class.
Yeah.
We managed to, most importantly, I think, convey the fact both to developers and to consumers that the only way to build this business scalably is to bring transparency to the table. The moment you bring transparency to the table, you are going to get buyers from places which you've never thought of before. True. To give you an example, on the HoABL app, as a consumer of Ayodhya ji, I can look at every single consumer in that development, his registered document, know what date he has bought, know at what rate he has bought, as long as I am willing to share the same information about myself. Which basically means people have this conceptual thinking that the land business may have black, white and grey. We are very, very clear, we are absolutely only white.
Right. That level of transparency, as I said in the initial part of the interview, that level of trust, to be able to instill that faith to your potential buyers, to your investors, is a great deal. And let's make no bones about the fact that you are a game changer in that sense. In conclusion, can you tell us going forward, what are the things that you're looking out for? What is your passion project, your pet project, the next one?
So I think, today at this point of time, like I said, we believe only 7,000 consumers have participated with us.
Okay.
And we have what we believe at least the ability as a country to consume 1,000 times of that. Land as an investment class is going to grow rapidly, well ahead of the average growth in real estate, which real estate is going to see. We want to be at the forefront of that. We want to ensure that the House of Abhinandan Lodha represents the consumer credibility and trust that we believe it stands for today. We want to ensure, and we've been able to successfully do all our deliveries happening ahead of time. And we do believe that if we are able to do this, a lot of our colleagues from the industry will also now start looking at land as a very, very large part of their portfolio, which will mean a lot more participation, a lot more growth, a lot more availability, and better consumer choice in this segment.
Right, interesting. But I have to also definitely ask you this, that when you go into these places, you are saying that yes, the local population is set to benefit, but largely what I have seen in my journalistic career, that whenever a big player moves in, the local population is displaced, there are environmental concerns, there are ecological disbalance with these constructions happening. So somewhere is the House of Abhinandan Lodha conscious about those factors, not disturbing even say the local ethos and taking the stakeholders in?
We believe we are very, very conscious of this. We've learned this from our earlier understanding of how locals and outsiders, if they're on different sides of the table, it just doesn't work. So our idea is we don't work through aggregators. We put a team on the ground. We work with the local population. Most of our projects are carbon neutral now, so we ensure ecological disturbance is not there. We also ensure that we acquire land very, very patiently and at above market pricing. So there is no displacement felt by the local people. An example of that is also, if you'll see in Ayodhya ji, the people who sold the land was in phase 1, came back and sold in phase 2 and phase 3 as well. So as long as you're able to communicate to the local people patiently that you're not there for the short term, you're going to be part of that ecosystem for the long run, you're going to contribute back to the local economy, jobs are going to get created locally, and you're going to ensure that you're not developed in any way displacing the ecological balance of the place.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're not using in any way all acquisition is done privately and by, consent from both parties only. I think a combination of those gives a lot of reassurance to local people, because I think it's also very important to understand that most of these places were not developed towns till we went there. Our going there coincided with the economic rejuvenation of the area, coincided with the rising land prices of the area for future developments, coincided with the growth in local jobs. So it's in all sum total put together, it's a win-win for everybody involved. Because like I said, we're suddenly taking something which is a very, very local product and making it available in the global market.
And that's no mean feat, let's be honest about it. The fact that you're saying that this sort of a track record, my only worry, of course, and if I may ask you this, that will you be able to sustain it? Because what happens is one little thing gone wrong, and if there is like a one protest on one land acquisition, then often enough that has a ripple effect on many other such projects. Will you be able to avert that entirely?
I believe so, but I also believe the answer to your question is slightly different. The answer to your question is that if ever you do something which hurts the local population, you have to have the humility in you to go and accept it and work with the local population to rectify that for the future.
Right.
Whether it was your intent or otherwise, if at any point of time local sentiment is hurt, the ability to own up and apologize for that is an essential part of the behavior of trying to work with the local corporations.
Right. I think that's absolutely very humble, and I would say grounded of you in more ways than one to think in that manner. I really congratulate you for the new projects that you have launched and wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining us on Free Press Journal.
Thank you.